We can guarantee that they will be at 10K per month reoccurring within 90 days if they do everything that we tell them to do. If I were to relive today over and over and over again for the rest of the year, would I become the person that I planned to become at the start of the year?
You've got a 10 million cash flow business. Like, are you now at the point where you pivot and you go into other businesses that can scale to higher multiples like software and stuff like that?
Yeah.
What's the next 12 to 24 months look like for you?
We have helped people get out of credit card debt to going and paying their parents' mortgage off. We have helped people buy their first home. We have taken people that have been worked into the ground to traveling all around the world and really getting to experience the beauty of life. When you start to set goals, everybody sits down and goes, how much money do I want to make? That's the first thing that people start about, and that's a stupid way to plan for a business.
Together we have clarity, direction, and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
Quick one before we jump into this podcast. Do me a solid favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment below this video. If you're looking to remove images, videos, search results, or fake accounts online, go to contentremoval.com, but don't take my word for it. Here's some music.
Frank, you're a fucking legend. I just saw this. Layla also thinks you're a legend, which in my mind means you're which means you're a double legend in my mind. If you get my wife to think you're a legend, then you're extra cool in my mind. Dude, thank you so much, genuinely. That was such a pain.
Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast at IFS events. What a weekend we have had here in Portugal. And I have today an OG of the fitness space, a man that has the world's largest mastermind for fitness entrepreneurs, helping guys get to 6 and 7 figures in their business at scale. When you think about all the people online training as coaches and doing online coaching, this man has probably trained them or been at the back end of their business and systemizing it more than anyone else. Mr. Phil Graham, welcome to Portugal. Welcome to my temporary studio. And mate, I'm excited about this day because I really want to break down with you this high ticket model and how you've scaled it, because obviously your business does 10 million plus, a high profit margin, and obviously highly systemized, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. And I only met you about 2 days ago, and we've had great conversations, and we've talked about various things from scaling businesses, selling businesses, relationships, life, and it's been very refreshing. So thank you for having me on, and can't wait to share as much insight as I can. So
yeah, mate, I'm looking forward to it because obviously, like I was saying in the intro there, you've helped more people than anyone else in this industry hit 6 and 7 figures, right?
Yeah, we've helped a substantial amount of online coaches, nutritionists, wellness experts. That's my niche. That's essentially my people. That's where I came from. My story was back when I was 16, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and that forced me into looking at nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, mindset as preventative measures for my own health and to protect me, essentially. And that fell into a bodybuilding career. That bodybuilding career was then sort of influenced by my passion for fitness and nutrition, that I then went to university and studied dietetics. So I really dreamt of becoming a dietitian. That was my dream in life, was to work in dietetics, to work with people with diabetes. And then I did my bodybuilding, and people noticed that I was getting in great shape. And I asked, I was studying nutrition at the time, and people asked me, hey, can you do me a diet plan? Hey, can you train me? Hey, can you coach me? And that is where I then took the slant towards growing my own business, my own personal training business. And essentially my first client was my mum. And then from there it was her friends, and then it was her friends' friends, and then it was people in the gym. And as a result of that grew, and then I developed, I wrote the world's first encyclopedia on diabetes and muscle building called the Diabetic Muscle and Fitness Guide, and created a large international movement for people with type 1 diabetes that wanted to build muscle, lose fat, but couldn't quite access the information that was relevant to them. At the time, it was bodybuilding.com or Flex or Muscle and Fitness, and nobody could really get the information specific to people with type 1. And if you know about diabetes, it's a massive, growing autoimmune condition. And I was really a thought leader in bringing a lot of ideas and insights around training and nutrition and training into that market, and really wanted to inspire hope. And on top of that as well, I had a very successful, very busy personal training business, and I was one of the first online coaches in the UK. Back in the day, me, Jimmy Alderton, and a handful of other people were like the first people to do it. And this is where we were coaching people by sending them 40-page Word documents and recipe books and theories. And, compared to what it's like now, it was chalk and cheese. And I had so many fitness professionals that saw my business growth, and they observed that growth, And they said, hey, can you coach me and teach me how to run my business? And I started doing consults. I started going to gyms and coaching small teams and small group semi-private trainings. And I was sharing insights on nutrition. I was sharing insights on training. I was sharing insights on coaching etiquette and then business. And then I realized, I was always an entrepreneur. I failed miserably to work for somebody else. I failed miserably. I mean, in my university placement, I fell asleep. I was doing a food technology degree where essentially it was involved in food production, and I was working in this massive meat factory where we would look at food technology and preservation of the meat and how it's packaged and everything. And I remember I slept in once, and there was like a 10-ton delivery of New Zealand lamb that came in that, quite frankly, thawed out in the car park while I slept. I was dismissed from that role. So I really just loved the whole challenge of getting clients, selling them in, making money for myself, and having control, most importantly, of my time. And that is the reason why so many people start a business, is to live life on their own terms. It's not to make more money. It's not to have more freedom. It's not to change lives. It's a combination of all of that. And that means I get to choose when I wake up. I get to choose who I work with. I get to choose how much money I make. I get to choose what I do with my day. And I talked about yesterday, when engineering and building a business, when you start to set goals, everybody sits down and goes, how much money do I want to make? That's the first thing that people start about. And that's a stupid way to plan for a business. The way that you need to plan for a business is you actually need to ask yourself, how do I want this business to make me feel on a daily basis? How do I want to wake up? And I want to be responsive, not reactive. I want to be able to work with people that I love working with, that I can truly understand their problems. And what you end up finding is people build a business that they wake up every day worried about, how can I make money? I'm working with clients that I do not like. I've got some people that I like. I've got majority that I don't
some
like.
Some that you don't, yeah.
And it's just this whole mess. And understandably, people build a business out of survival. They build a business to make money, to survive. And sometimes when they lack the maturity, they just sell to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And then they end up with a very mixed bag of clients. And, we can go on 101 different angles here, but the most important decision in business is, how do I want it to make me feel? The second most important decision is, who do I really want to work with? Because when you set that intention to work with a target market, that dictates the language that you use to talk to them and communicate to them, and the signal that you provide to them. It also as well dials in the way that you sell to them, and it also dials in the deliverables that you need to give them from a service provision. Anybody that's running a personal training or coaching business or consulting business is selling basically their intellectual property, philosophies, understandings of how they want to solve the problem, grouped together, and they're selling them to an individual. And it's, how do you present that in a way that is understandable, digestible, and actionable? And if you've got too many variants in who you work with, it's going to be hard to market to 101 different types of people. It's going to be hard to sell to 101 types of people. And then most importantly, inside your community, you're not going to have like-mindedness, because you're going to have different people from different backgrounds, different problems, different goals, different aspirations. And it's very hard to glue that together.
We were talking about the importance of, when you build these communities, it's not just when you build it, but once you've built it, to have gamification with inside that community to help people, so people are working and helping each other, so that the community can not only grow, but everyone inside the community stays within that community as well.
Correct. I mean, gamification is just one element of many things when it comes to building a community, but having ascensions or layers that people can aim towards creates the desire for action. And when other people see other people taking action and ascend and create status for themselves, then it drives people from the bottom to want to ascend and to grow naturally, right? So, if you are running any form of coaching program or community, have some element in it where there's essentially leaders and there's essentially a starting ground or a foundation, and you want to publicly promote the behaviors, the strengths, the qualities, the traits that you want to see in the rest of the community base. And that is what drives action, community, and most importantly, results. And a community, especially in the online world, is a very powerful thing to create. It is something that is going to really create a sense of belonging for a lot of people. And what you tend to find is, when you dial in a community, you've got a lot of people's smaller stories living inside the bigger story or vision of the visionary, of the leader of the business, So whenever I decided to create Authority Network Fitness Entrepreneur, Authority Network's the name of our main mastermind, which is branched under Fitness Entrepreneur. I had a vision for fitness professionals where I wanted to take them away from just running a personal training or online coaching business, and I wanted them to create a consultancy business. And inside that consultancy business, I wanted them to turn that into a combination of education, accountability support, but most importantly, community, a movement for that specific niche that customer was coming in with. And, we've been helping coaches do that for quite some time now, and we've seen colossal growth in the course of our clients' businesses, where they've gone from 20 clients to like 300-400 clients. They're running events, they're building courses. Clients are coming on board and they're being dealt with a really good quality team. It's really just providing a radical level of service that transforms lives, but also provides a sense of belonging for the individuals to talk freely about the challenges that come with their own transformation, right?
So give me a bit of an insight into your thoughts of why you, I know you're really into this high ticket offer being and taking cash on the front end in terms of being a really important metric of your business. The fact that you collect cash and a high ticket offer up front.
Yep.
Talk into that for me, and why that's so important for people to establish that high ticket offer, and why that's better than the low ticket. Like, there's a lot of people out there selling this subscription business and low ticket offers everywhere. But why is high ticket so important to you?
It really depends on context. I'm big on both, but it really depends on the individual that it's being applied to and what the background factors are. But if you look at the high ticket offer and the low ticket offer, a low ticket offer, for example, is something £49, £99, £147. It could be an ebook, it could be a guide, it could be a 30-day challenge, a 6-week challenge, or something like that. That requires, to a degree, a lot of volume. And the thing with volume is that it's hard to attract in a noisy marketplace with a lot of stuff going on. And it most definitely works for individuals that, one, have a huge following. It most definitely works for niches. So, for example, people in the mobility niche, Sonny is a client and, does an exceptional amount of business. And, that's very specialized. But when you look at general health and fitness, fat loss, body composition, and building a high ticket offer or low ticket offer with a relatively small following, and trying to do it organically without any paid advertising, it's very difficult, right? So if you look at 47, let's just say £47 or £150 or something like that, you look at the time and effort it costs to get a client. You look at, you have to write a sales page, you have to drive traffic to that sales page. These are all mechanisms that make essentially the conversion more complex. And we all know when people go to look at a sales page, they go, oh, I'll look at it later. I'll look at it later. I'll look at it later. So, the best way to grow that is to have a large following, to have a good amount of volume, or to be driving paid media towards it so that there's constantly something reminding the market, hey, this is the page, this is what it does, this is how you get it, and what it'll do for you. Yeah. And to do that organically is very time consuming. Versus a high ticket offer, whether that's at 1, 2, 3K. And the way that I frame this is, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, think about the amount of time and energy and money that you have invested into your education. And if you could work with one client per year, what would you charge? And compare that to what you're currently doing right now. And most people are undercharging, right? And what will drive the health of your business is the amount of cash that you can collect on the first day. And I'm massive for essentially collecting cash on the first day, and then, for example, over a 90-day period, then tailoring that into a back end. So you get the best of both worlds. You get this new revenue, you get this bluster of it, and then you get a back end recurring revenue where essentially the first 90 days of that service is based on getting a result or getting some kind of goal achieved that the client wants. And then into the back end, they stay for continual education, personal development, support, and quite frankly, insurance, and mostly community. People stay because they like the community. People stay because they see future in utilizing your service to essentially help them ascend through the ladder of status, recognition, health, safety, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that's the way that every business should be, but it's, if you have a following of 2 to 10,000 and you have a clear target market, you have got specialist knowledge in an area that can help that target market, bundling that together in a plan, some form of training, some form of accountability, support, and community, you can charge a relative premium for that. Because if you look at what your customer has already spent on trying to achieve that result, it's quite a lot of money and it's quite a lot of time, and it's holding them back from a lot of other things in their life, whether that's confidence, whether that's relationship success, whether that's business success in the boardroom, whatever it may be. That essentially is a premium that they're paying. They're paying for the result. A lot of online coaches are very guilty of just charging a fixed retainer. The reality is, if you could charge $2,000 for 90 days and collect that on day one and have a couple of split pays up your sleeve if somebody wasn't able to afford it, it provides an element of offer engineering and flexibility so that they can get over the line. And your ability to scale a business will depend on how low you can drop the bar. So having split pays or having your offer engineered for people that genuinely want to work with you but just simply can't afford the upfront, you've got to have flexibility. But collecting that cash up front, that pays for labor, that pays for advertising, that pays for tools, software. So I blend the both of monthly reoccurring and also the high ticket together. And I find that works best. It allows people to really hit good numbers and also build a very stable monthly recurring business underneath them. And one of the most important things is that monthly recurring revenue, because you want to be able to look at, okay, if I wasn't able to take on a new client today, have I still got money coming in through the doors? Versus a traditional high ticket, which is big price, drop off, big price, drop off, big price, drop off.
Lumpy cash business.
Yeah, it's lumpy cash. It also involves some form of realignment call, especially if it's 1 to 2 or 3K. And if that isn't pre-framed, that this is going to come out again at the front of a sales call. And it's very important what's pre-framed at the start of a sales call, because that determines the relationship. We don't want those shocks.
Talk to me about how you're pre-framing a high ticket offer.
Well, pre-framing, in terms of a high-ticket offer, I mean, quite frankly, you want to delve into what do you want to achieve? Why haven't you achieved it? What have you tried before? How much time have you wasted? How much money have you wasted? And it really boils down to the level of conviction in the individual that is actually selling the service. And that is, quite frankly, the most important factor. Whoever has the most conviction in what they sell believes. And the marketplace gravitates towards the individual that has the most conviction and the most certainty in what they're doing. And for anybody listening right now that's selling anything remotely high ticket, which is, 1.5K and up, look at your top 3 competitors and who is the most certain in that niche. And that is where the market will gravitate towards. And you'll find that people are certain at one point and then they essentially disappear, and people disappear because of complacency, or they don't want to run the business anymore, or the founder's not happy anymore, or some economic challenge or whatever it is. And then it's replaced with somebody who's more certain and more relevant. And the job of a CEO is to always make sure every 90 days, every month, how can we make the company more relevant to what the marketplace needs? How can we make our offer, how can we make our advertising more relevant to what the market needs? And then that is taken from strategic, sort of visionary work right down to the team who then deliver it in the operations. But in terms of pre-framing, it's like, what have you done? What have you spent? How much time have you wasted? And that individual should be connecting with somebody that has got a lot of conviction in what they do. And, I always say to the clients, if you're going to sell this premium thing, what can you guarantee in 90 days? And that's a question for everybody listening. What can you guarantee that you would help clients achieve in 90 days? So, for example, if we have a coach or a fitness professional or somebody that's selling some form of consultancy, and they're at, they've got 20 clients and they're maybe doing 2K a month, we can guarantee that they will be at 10K per month reoccurring within 90 days if they do everything that we tell them to do. Of course, there are people that do not do what we tell them to do, like there is in personal training. You get people that come in and want to lose all this weight but don't take action. Yeah. But we have, and I think this is important from a business perspective, we are constantly looking at how fast can we get the result that the market wants. And
that's a powerful statement right there. How fast can I get the result that the market wants?
Correct.
Not what they want personally.
Correct.
What the market wants.
What the market wants. And we look at, okay, what are we doing to get that result? What is useful? What is not? What is relevant? What is not? And over time, there are elements that are first principles that remain foundational to that. But over the course of time, there are nuances, there are new details that need to be added in and swapped in or added in. And, we're a firm believer when we create content for clients as short as possible, as long as needed. We are not afraid to deliver a training in 15 minutes. If that gets you the information, the action steps, and the clarity that you need to be able to achieve something, and we can do it in 15 minutes versus an hour, that's a win for us, because it's easier for us to deliver. It's easier for you to understand. And, even with the likes of this podcast, I mean, we had, you said earlier on, let's do an hour on this. And I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, if we can get it done in 15, 20 minutes and I can deliver as much gold as possible, I just preserve somebody 40 minutes of their life that they can spend with their kid, and they're walking away with insights in their mind going, I'm really excited to implement that. I'm really excited to do that. So, always think, if you are a service provider, how can you get a result for your customer in the shortest amount of time? If you're working with people, how can you really drive efficiency? Because people that get results with less effort are much more likely to refer than people who get a result with more effort.
Yeah, I love it because it's essentially what you're saying in regards to the podcast and stuff. Is like, when you just because you say you got an hour of time, you're right. It doesn't have to be an hour. Your whole
it's the same with phone calls. It's the same with consults, right? Like, we're conditioned to have 30-minute conversations, an hour conversation. I quite frankly would love to have that conversation in 2 to 3 minutes. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes context is needed and there is time for that, or you've got other parties involved that don't understand that concept. But I want to know, if you've got a problem, I want to know what the problem is, what you've tried to do to fix it, and what are the roadblocks, and boom, then I'll come in with a solution. And
you want that before the call.
Correct.
Because I
or have them prepare that information before a call, so that when you hit the 000 on the timer, that they come in and go, here's my problem, here's what I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z. Because look, most conversations and most people asking for help is filled with fluff and stories that add,
zero value, zero context. And a lot of it is that conditioned story that they've kept telling themselves for the last 10 years.
Well, it's like this. I put up a post about this a while back, but when you get an audio note that's, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, go to the last 25% and wait until you find the line. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, I suppose my question is, so you get this whole vuv.
Yeah.
And then this concise bit at the end. So I always, if I get a message like that and somebody's asking a problem, I'll always go to the last bit. I'll listen to the question and I'll go, can I answer that right now? And I might have background context on the individual, so I might know what's going on. But if I need context or a story, I will ask for it, or I will re-listen.
I love that.
So that saves me a fuck ton of time.
Yeah. Well, I like people to text me, and then I like to voice note back, because it's quicker for me to voice note back, because it saves me time. But I don't want voice notes coming in my direction.
Yeah, I like both. Sometimes I like texting and clear bullet points, and that's a form of summary in my head, because I want to be able to reference back to it and look at what I've written, versus I don't know what's in an audio note. I can't remember what's in it. So it really depends on what's happening.
With high ticket, from your experience, is there any way to sell high ticket without doing the phone call?
Yes. Yeah.
Break that down for me. Because I've sold high ticket for a long time, and the phone call is something that's always been the key things closing the deal.
Yeah, I mean, the phone call gives you much more control. It gives you a lot more scale. But on top of the phone call, you can have things like sales webinars, sales workshops, sales events. We do webinars every single month, and we sign up anything from 5 to 15 clients plus on those single hour sessions.
What's that as a revenue?
Let's say the offer is, cash collected, let's say 6K, and we do 5, that could be 30K for an hour if it's whatever, but our customers stay on average for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So when you look at the lifetime revenue of that, it's relatively healthy. There's also other ways where, you can drive people to book a call for, say, and let's just say, for example, once they book the call, or before they book the call, you can have a video in there that goes, hey, just want to be very, very clear. This is what you're going to get. This is what's involved. The investment is $6K if you book a call. However, if you don't book a call, it's $4,200. Now, if you need to ask questions and you need to learn more about what the service is, go ahead and book a call. However, it will be 6K. If you're ready to go right now based on all the information I've just presented you, click the button below.
That is fantastic, bro. I love that.
So
that would save so many people selling high tickets so much time.
it definitely does, but at the same time too,
It can alienate your market, I suppose.
well, no, it's not that. It's that people worry about people don't buy because of two reasons. One, they're worried about getting ripped off, and two, they're worried about failing. So whenever they see all that information presented, you've got to make sure that you've got a strong narrative around social proof. People that, you know, any form of page, whether it's a book, a call page, or anything else, you need to have social proof around people that started with nothing, people that started with a decent business, people that had a fear about A, people that had a fear about B. People, you want to cover as various different circumstances as possible, and you also want to make sure that your social proof has got as many different personality types in it as possible. People that talk really fast, people that talk slow, people that are completely out there, people that are reserved, so that you can just mirror the traffic coming towards it. And you're hoping that when somebody comes along, they see somebody in a case study or testimonial that is their story.
Guys, quick one for you. If you're getting value from this content and you're loving what's been put down so far, drop a like on this video, drop a comment on it, and share it across social media for me.
Yes, so you're literally covering every different archetype of your ideal target market.
Correct.
How they might be, how they might be feeling, and you're covering it off and you're giving them proof of that on the sales page.
It's like, you know, if you run a fitness business and you're constantly putting up people that get ripped abs, you're going to attract, you know, a very individual type of customer versus somebody that genuinely wants abs but's too scared and sees too many perfect examples.
Yeah.
So you want to have a couple of examples that add variety, that add different context, and quite frankly can be useful in supporting somebody else's decision.
When you've obviously you've gone through this and you've built this phenomenal coaching business, you've coached people like James Smith, you've coached people like Sonny, you've coached other people in the industry that have done top stuff. Obviously, you when you've done that and achieved all that, how are you investing your cash on the back end so that you've got longevity? So it's not just a coaching business anymore. Like, what are you doing to diversify what you're doing with the funds that you've collected?
Yeah, I'll try to answer this in a way that's going to be more useful for the audience, because my personal investment strategy is very unique. But a lot of people talk about investing and making money outside of their current business when they're not in a position to do so. The number one creator of your wealth is your own business, is you as an individual, your own skill set. So whenever you go to look at investing, stocks and shares, I've put millions into the S&P, the FTSE, the markets. It is slow. It's like watching paint dry. It takes years for that stuff to work. Yes, you can get dividends, etc., etc. I invest all of that myself. I don't use a financial advisor who, quite frankly, is just going to overcharge with fees, and that's a different story. I'm not even going to go into that. I've done property, which requires management, which requires time, which requires big financial outlay. These are all long game plays. And for most people that haven't built something stable, haven't built the team underneath them to give them the time back, and haven't got, 6 months or 12 months operating expenses, it's a futile goal, in my opinion. We're told to put money into a pension, put money into an ISA. Try looking at what that money makes after a year. Fuck all. Versus putting that into a team member, versus putting that into advertising. We had a marketing meeting the other day, and, we'd spent, I think it was something very small, like $1,700 for a campaign for a week, but I returned 11 times that money. So where am I going to get a return like that? So I'm a firm believer in investing the majority of your money into your current skill sets in business so that you can provide more value and receive more value back. And then once you have got surplus, quite frankly, I've been doing a lot of background research, communication, and in all honesty, distressed property with the right tenants is, undeniably one of the best. But again, it's about risk tolerance. It's about time and involvement. I'm not negating the stock market in any way. It has definitely got its utility. But in terms of, significant growth, it's buying distressed properties in the right areas that appreciate in capital value. You've got good quality tenants, making sure that you can, get away with putting as little money in as possible. Whether you pay the debt down and remortgage at a later point, it gives you a lot of access to capital. I've also experimented with cryptocurrency and other elements like that. I think having and other businesses as well, where I sit on the board or I take equity in those businesses, that has certainly been a very interesting one, but one that takes up significant amounts of energy. So you've got to make sure that if you are investing in a business, that you understand it, that you like it, that there's so many ways that I could go with that conversation. But for the majority of people listening, unless you're sitting on 12 months plus of operating expenses for both personal life and business, you need to have a lot of surplus cash to invest. If you don't have that surplus cash to invest, do not dig into the foundational equity or balance of your business. It gives you the safety, because you will make mistakes in business. You will forget things. You will have blind spots. You will lose people. You will go through client churn. You will go through economic crisis, and having cash makes you feel very confident, very strong, so you can maneuver, you can act fast, and it really puts you in a strong position. If you look at Warren Buffett, they sit on an enormous amount of cash so that they can buy and exploit opportunities. Making sure that you're investing in yourself first, making sure that you've got enough budget to springboard off is important. And I've been a very good saver my whole entire life. I'm not against buying materialistic things. I buy things that I know I'm going to get value out of, or I'm going to enjoy, or that are, big things for me. But the majority of my money is spent on experiences now. So I love my food. I like travel. I like bringing in a private chef for really smart people or friends at my house. I'm not really entertained by a lot of materialistic stuff.
When did you kind of figure in your mind that, it wasn't about the materialistic stuff anymore, it's more about the experiences?
When I locked onto the vision of what I was doing with my life, that was the main thing. But two, that I got some things out of my system. I mean, I'm 34. I got some things out of my system. Well, all of the things out of my system at a young age, to the point where I had them and I'd also live without them, and realized that, it's not all that it seems to be. So I kind of did that over multiple things, whether it was house, whether it was car, whether it was watches, whether it was clothes, whether it was everything else that you can think of in the material world. And I was just like, I'm still stuck with myself 24/7, hours 24/7. And how do I feel about myself? Has this raised my baseline happiness? And what I find was, with the materialistic stuff, it was a temporary bump. And then you would default back to your own internal dialogue, your own conversation, how you would wake up in the morning, and what are the first kind of 3 or 4 minutes of conversation inside your own mind. How do you spend time, and how do you think when you're idle? Becoming your own best friend and having, a real strong trust in the flow of the events of life, i.e. if there's challenges in my life, okay, great. What are they leading to? How are they building me? And if there's great stuff that happens in your life, okay, awesome. Let's not get complacent. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's savor it. And really just trusting in the whole flow of things is really where true wealth lies, rather than car, house, Louis Vuitton bag, watch. I live you just met me. I live a very private life. I don't share, go out of my way to share anything materialistic. I have my toys that I enjoy in private, and they're for me. They're not for me to showcase, because they're for me.
Yeah.
And
they're bought for the right reason.
I flex with my experiences, and one of those is cooking, and two, the work that we do with our clients. So you see our client events, there's hundreds of people there. Hundreds.
Me and you have got some people that we mutually know that are very, very, very wealthy, very, very successful in business, that have done 200 million exits and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And when you talk to those people, and when you're around those people like we have been, you watch how they move.
Yep.
And how they move and how they operate is completely different to
somebody who's got rich quick.
Yeah, and there's not the flash, there's not the pizzazz, there's not the brands. Do you know what I mean? They're very, very, very humble, like they're the most down to earth people, and you get so much from looking at people like that and how they move. You just can't even quantify that. The more wealth someone accumulates, in the most part, it isn't about Louis Vuitton bags anymore. It's not about Lamborghinis on the driveway and looking at it all the time. It's more about, you need some help. How can we help you? Do you know what I mean? How can we? What advice do you need from our journey to help you facilitate your growth? Yeah. And that is the beautiful thing about fuck you money. Do you know what I mean? Like when people get that, because
I always had
takes
a saying,
away the ego, doesn't it?
I always had a saying, and I've been saying this for many, many years. Even before, I really made my money. I always used to say, a rich man doesn't need to tell he's rich. It's an inner quiet confidence, and there's a lot of power to that. When you walk into a room and you know that, quite frankly, you've created something more colossal and bigger than anybody else in the room, that you're impacting on a bigger level, that you're creating legacy wealth for your family, and that you're just really deep and rooted into the whole earth and everything that you do, rather than just being, hey, look at me. And there's nothing wrong with somebody putting up a picture of their car or their watch if they're into those things, each to their own. But you increase the vector to be attacked. You increase the vector for attracting people that only want those things. And I don't want to attract people that just want cars and just want watches and just want flamboyance. I want to connect people with me that will really want to have a meaningful impact in the world, that want to become true leaders, that want to be able to sit and have intelligent, deep-rooted conversations about how they can advance themselves and how they can advance humanity around them. And that is a very deep kind of personal quest into how can I make the world a better place? How can I bring more love? How can I bring more trust? How can I bring more inspiration and more hope to people that really want to see it? Because if people look at you as a bearer of hope, or if people look at you as an individual that has changed their life, and you can do that on repeat and repeat and repeat, you're living a purpose that's rewarding you back and fulfilling you and sustaining you, and that is my deeper level of work in Authority Network and everything that we do has been from my own personal journey, to get clients to a level where they make the money that they've always wanted, to then realize that the only source of happiness is themselves and how they communicate with themselves and how they love themselves. So there's a deeper seed to my work where I actually want to get my clients extremely wealthy to the point where they actually then start doing the deeper work. Yeah. And that is where the real growth happens, because you let go of the striving to just chase money and just grow a business because I've got to grow it. When you can have control over yourself and your day and your identity to know that I can take it or leave it, that's powerful.
And you're growing it just because you want to help other people.
And when I can liberate somebody from feeling the desire to impress other people or to prove something to themselves, and to just be and exist, but also know that they're capable of providing value to the world and value to themselves and loving themselves, that's my work.
I love that. I love that. That is some really powerful stuff, because that in essence, what you've just said there is what it's all about. It's why I do this podcast, because I'm passionate about it. I turn up, you see it, you only have to speak to me for 10 minutes to know that I fucking love what I do, right? Yeah. And it's the same with you. You love what you do, and the high ticket model that you mentioned at the start of this podcast and everything about that is something that can be bolted onto any business, not just any
consultancy based business, right? Yeah. Obviously there's different elements there. If I'm supplying a product or whatever, it's not relevant in that realm. It's consultancy work, service based work, education based work. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just all about, how can you give that guaranteed result in 90 days, that whatever that guarantee is, to serve your target market, and then when you've served your target market, you have every right to collect cash up front and to collect cash on recurring.
Yeah, you lead with service, and you lead with the way that you've built that service. I mean, there's a lot of marketers and salespeople in the world that will just lead with the sale, the market, the sale, the market, the sale, the market, and they'll lightly touch on the service. But, you know, if you build an incredible product and you get incredible results, or an incredible service for that matter, it advertises itself. You know, I built my business to multi-seven figures without one single Facebook ad, right? And that was because I got so many good results for my clients, to the point where other trainers were looking at them and doing, hey, where are you learning from? Where are you going? And then, boom.
What was your been your most outstanding result from one single client?
We have taken people that have put everything on a credit card, to the point, there was one client in particular that put one of our masterminds on a whole entire course, and he had a family and he had 2 kids, and this guy just come out of the army, and fast forward to now, he's doing between 30 and 40k sterling a month at probably around about 50 to 60% margin, works probably 20 hours a week on the business, travels,
just completely freed himself from
complete freedom. We have helped people get out of credit card debt to going and paying their parents' mortgage off. We have helped people buy their first home. We have helped people buy their first real sports car that they've, you know, really just desired from a kid. We have helped people create money that they've used to put into charity and do events and runs. We have taken people that have been overworked, worked into the ground, and very overwhelmed, to traveling all around the world and really getting to experience the beauty of life.
But what's next for Phil Graham? Like, because you've obviously built this business 10 mil plus a year. Right, you obviously, I know there's a lot that you want to do. Like, what's the next 12 to 24 months look like for you? I mean, are you now at the point where you pivot and you go into other businesses that can scale to higher multiples, like software and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or because I know your vision beyond is not just like you've got a 10 million cash flow business and that's the cash flow business, but like you want to do so much more. Like,
well, one of my main focuses is my property portfolio and my investments over the next 6 to 24 months.
What is your vision for that?
That is to build a substantial portfolio of commercial-based property, residential-based property in the areas that I live, where I want to be able to touch it and feel it and have control over it, and provide homes for people, and essentially use that to play, you know, a bigger, more impactful game in the community of where I live, which is Northern Ireland. And then on top of that, I have a deep-rooted desire to work with male entrepreneurs, and essentially helping them with the growth of themselves as individuals, especially guys that are in their early 30s, that are in startup mode, or that are scaling over, you know, multiple 7 figures a year. There's a lot of challenge that comes with that. I want to do a very specific male-orientated leadership kind of piece of work, and also as well open that up to other individuals that are 6-figure startups, and also individuals that are running 7 figures, and that's for males and females. I have a strong passion for male personal development, especially all the, you know, the twists and the turns and the challenges and chaos that a male specifically will go through. And then I have a unique piece for that, and then also helping businesses outside the fitness industry grow and scale. But my main focus at this moment in time has been my fitness business. I have an incredible team, a remarkable team of individuals that run that, and that business still has got, you know, further insight. We have a SaaS product coming out. We have an even higher level mastermind group being sort of in its infancy right now, above our high level group already, which is like people at $250,000 plus a month. So there's elements of one, male personal development for entrepreneurs, and then there's the other element of generally helping individuals that are at 7 figures, 1 mil, 2 mil, helping them go to 5, 6-figure business boot camps. They're all fragments of the same thing, helping businesses grow and scale through installing the right identity and mindset and beliefs into the founder, into, their behavior on a daily basis, because it all really starts from there, into helping them clarify their message and their signaling to the market, and to also help them build the necessary conversion mechanisms, whether that's how to sell, sales teams, sales systems, follow-ups, all the sequencing that goes in with really dialing in. And I was even speaking with the head guy of IFS, and he was like, how do we get into corporates, and how do we create an offer for corporates, and offer engineering, and all of those kinds of things for guys like that, and then delivery as management and leadership of a team. So, how do you create culture? How do you create KPIs? How do you communicate? How do you, all of that. So it's essentially a different version of what I'm doing now, but for individuals that are, I'm going to run initially in 2023. The way it's going to work is I actually built a restaurant at the side of my house, which is, you've seen.
Yeah, it's mad.
And it's when I say it's a restaurant, it's a restaurant. It has got the space to hold 50, 60 people, and we're going to start initially with 4 events a year. That's going to be 2 6-figure business boot camps, and then we're going to have 2 higher level luminary masterminds for 7-figure over 1 mil. Individuals that are looking to go to 5 mil, and I may do one for 8-figure businesses, but that's generally usually around selling, so packaging a business and selling it, which is not a huge interest of mine at the moment. So I really want to serve those individuals that are, really just getting past the mil mark and how they want to scale, because there's a lot of challenge with getting over that mil mark and going up, in terms of responsibility, risk, etc.
Bringing on team.
Yeah, exactly. Building team, scaling team, and, opening that to, 25 individuals. They will sell like that. I will announce them on my, Instagram, email list, whatever, and they will sell like that. They will go very, very quick, and we'll have guests, and we'll have food together. We'll have fireside masterminds. I'm a really good connector of people, bringing them around and really bringing, we run incredible events, right? When we bring people together, we bring 300, 350 people together in a room, and we connect them. We make sure everybody leaves like having shook hands or had at least a conversation with everybody else in the room. So I'm very, very good at connecting, and I've got a strong level of confidence in terms of bringing those businesses together and doing that. And then the meal personal development is something like I want to do in my later years. But the main work will predominantly revolve around helping, 7-figure businesses in the consultancy and service-based areas scale.
Give me
the property stuff as well.
Give me a bit of an insight into this. I want your opinion on, what's been lost in terms of what have males lost in society in terms of the struggles that they're having now compared to the younger males. I mean, let's just put it into context. I mean, well, I think our forefathers were going and fighting on the beaches in Normandy to protect the country, right?
Yep.
And I think there's been a lot lost in the generations since those generations in terms of how men are gentlemanly, how men are treat people, how men present themselves to the world. A lot's been lost in translation. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the world has changed a lot, and the context has changed a lot, and the amount of opportunity has dramatically increased. We're living in the best times that we possibly could right now in terms of technology, healthcare, communication, health, you name it, right? The biggest thing that I have seen is that with males, and females are also susceptible to this, that are entrepreneurial in their startup, is that they focus so much on making money that they neglect the other areas of their life, and they end up spending the money that they've made to correct the areas of their life that they've overlooked. So think of typical young, hungry male, just purely focused on closing, making sales, making money at the expense of everything else. That is quite prevalent.
Yeah.
And it's a status measure. And a lot of men get lost in that. And then when they hit a level, i.e. they hit the income level that they envisioned, they then lose all sense of drive, and they don't know how to recreate vision for themselves. And that's where you then see, distraction kick in, or they look for, immediately gratifying stuff, whether it's pornography, an affair, gambling, casual sex, and how much that costs their initial vision or what they've built that's great.
I think
it's really protecting protecting individuals. And, this is male and female. I say male because, I have worked with substantially more males than I have female. And I have been through some of these challenges myself. So, I want to be able to advise them and give them counsel on, the challenges and risks that come with putting all your eggs in one basket and driving towards one goal. And two, what happens when you hit your goal and how do you recreate future and continue to grow, whether that's in the pursuit of enterprise value or organizational growth or sitting in stillness and enjoying the fruits of your labor. Because I find that's very hard for people to do, is to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And I, for one, have, done a lot of personal work to allow me to be relaxed and calm. I mean, you've been with me all weekend and you've seen how I've been super potent and super proactive, but also very relaxed at the same time too.
Yeah.
So I can switch gears, and not a lot of people know how to switch gears.
Yeah, because a lot of people are redlining all the time.
Correct.
And then when you redline all the time, it leaves you open. But I think from what I experience and for the questions that end up in my DMs all the time, a lot of men lose a lot of clarity or don't even have any clarity at the start. They're leaning their ladders against walls. They're thinking they want to achieve certain things in life because they haven't done the inside work, or they're not always doing the inside work, the meditations, the breath works, the stuff that helps you accentuate and level up, because they're not doing that work at scale.
Look, just a point on that. That stuff's useful, but the most important thing is having a clear vision of what you want to do in your life and having the courage to take action on it, right? And that is going to require you moving outside of a comfort zone. And moving outside of a comfort zone is uncomfortable. And people get distracted. And I say, I do cold therapy, I do breathing, I do meditation. But there are times where, I'm not ultra strict with that stuff. I use it as a tool to complement my vision and my action. The most important thing that I can do every single day is get clearer on my vision, get clearer on the detail, and most importantly, take action, because that liberates me. I can sit in a meditation or journal and I can procrastinate and overdo and overthink and overplan and not actually take action. And taking action is the thing that's going to grow you, because when you take that action, the confidence comes, and then the confidence then liberates you to move forward and move more.
But it's refining that vision enough so that the actions you take compound in the right direction.
Correct.
Which is where, when we're talking before, it's like if you're always going out for casual sex, or if you're always
Yes.
in the pursuit of women and money, like if they're not a combination that goes well together.
No.
Like the casual sex all the time and the women and then the money, that just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, you've got low self-worth because you've not had any self-worth for yourself. So the money will not fill that hole, will not fill that void. Money doesn't fill voids. Money only accentuates the person who you are. So it's important, like you say, to take the actions, but when you take the actions, make sure it's pursuing the actual true vision you want, and ask yourself, when you write your vision down, why is it I want that vision? Why that one specifically? You have to identify why you want that one specifically and get clear on why you want that one. When you're clear on your why with the vision, then you can put your time and effort into it, and then you'll get when you take the action that Phil says, you'll get the results that you want, and it will be fulfilling at the end.
Yeah, I mean, what I said at the very start, designing a business to make you feel a certain way, getting clear on that vision and operating from that vision and making decisions from that vision, not circumstances that you find yourself in. So that's kind of been like my guiding GPS, is I've always had a very clear, detailed vision of who I want to be, how I want to behave, who I want to be around, what kind of business numbers I want to be doing, right through to the family that I have. And I've just recently had a baby girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And all my activities and like my decisions, yes or no, are geared towards that end thing, and that's what guides my life. So if you don't have that vision, then every day is waking up, looking at social media, comparing yourself, going to work, being dealt with a firefighting challenge, and then it's reactive, turn, and you end up nowhere. One of the best questions that you can ask yourself on a daily basis is, if I were to relive today over and over and over again for the rest of the year, would I become the person that I planned to become at the start of the year?
Wow. And do you know what? Repeat that question.
if I were to repeat the actions of today over and over again, would I become the person that I envisioned to be at the start of the year?
Ladies and gentlemen, write down that question. And that, my friends, is Phil Graham. Thank you very much. Much love.
And thank you for putting this on. I know how much effort and time these take to put together, and you've got yourself a studio here in IFS, and you've been going and getting interviews every day. And I think, for everybody listening to this, please make sure that you follow Frankie, give him a review, because this takes, we've done this for 53 minutes and he's taken up that time of his life to bring this to you guys. And he needs to be congratulated for that, because this is going to advance your life forward.
Much love, mate. I appreciate it. Guys, like, subscribe on all platforms. Just send it on all platforms. And guys, I can't tell you, from my heart, man, I appreciate all the support you've given me over the years through the Australian journey, through the British tour that I've just been on. Wherever this goes next, I really appreciate everything. Just fucking heartfelt. And I've just literally the other day done my first live podcast in Portugal. It was a very, very special moment for me to achieve that after doing this podcast for like 2.5 years. It means a lot to me. So much love to all of you. I hope we've added some value to your life, and speak soon. Much love.
Guys, do me a solid favour. Drop a comment below this video and let us know who you want on the podcast next.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Lee Podcast.